Well, good morning.
Morning.
We are about to cover one of the top 5 books of the Bible, just underneath John, right before Psalms. No, I'm teasing. As I studied for this section in the book of Numbers, I was going through several different commentaries and listening to several different well-known pastors and preachers. And they would get to a certain verse, and then they would just kind of skip over whole sections. And I thought, holy mackerel, how can you even do that? And you'll see why in a minute as we get into some of these names. But let's take just a few minutes and read some of this chapter 1. Numbers chapter 1. It says, the Lord spoke to Moses in the tent of meeting in the desert of Sinai on the first day of the 2nd month of the 2nd year after the Israelites came out of Egypt. He said, take a census of the whole Israelite community by their clans and families, listing every man by name, one by one. You and Aaron are to number by their divisions all the men in Israel 20 years old or more who are able to serve in the army. So in the video you saw how toward the end of the book, they're starting to get to a point where they're having to have lots of battles. And so right now, at the beginning of all of this, the Lord is already preparing them for that. And you think about, well, what difference does it make? You got a bunch of guys, look at this massive group of people, they can surely defend themselves. But God is not a God of disorder. I mean, even if you look back to the building of Noah's Ark, 100 years it took Noah to build that, but God knew well in advance of that what was going to take place. And I bet you that if you compare the ark that Noah built, it's probably one of the most seaworthy vessels that was ever built. The design was perfect, it was flawless. And so as God is directing Moses and Aaron here to begin putting this group of people together, this army, if you will, there's a rhyme and a reason behind it. It's not just happenstance. So then he goes on to say, one man from each tribe, starting in verse 4, each the head of his family is to help you. These are the names of the men who are to assist you. Now, we're about to get into this long list of names. I don't know if I'm going to pronounce everyone right, but I am going to say it with confidence. That's the trick. You got to say it with confidence. From Reuben, Elizur, son of Shadur. From Simeon, Shelumiel, son of Zurishaddai. From Judah, Nahshon, son of Amminadab. From Issachar, Nathaniel, son of Zuar. From Zebulun, Eliab, son of Helon. From the sons of Joseph, from Ephraim, Elishama, son of Ammihud. From Manasseh, Gamaliel, son of Pedazur. From Benjamin, Abidan, son of Gideoni. From Dan, Ahiezer, son of Ammishaddai. From Asher, Pagiel, son of Okran. From Gad, Eliasaph, son of Duel. From Naphtali, Ahira, son of Enan. Now, if you go through and count those, there's more. But wait, there's more. If you go through and count those family names, you'll find that there are 12 there. Right? Reuben, Simeon, Judah, Issachar, Zebulun, Joseph, which is broken down into Ephraim and Manasseh. Then you got Benjamin, Dan, Asher, Gad, and Naphtali. Those are the 12 tribes of Israel, but wait, is it? No. There's one missing, right? Levites. Levi's name is left out of this, but there are still 12. Well, if you go back to look at verse 10, it says, from the sons of Joseph, Ephraim and Manasseh. So the tribe of Joseph was actually broken into 2, Ephraim and Manasseh, his 2 sons, so that even though the Levites are pulled out, we'll talk more about that in a moment, there are still 12 tribes represented. So in verse 16 it says, these were the men appointed from the community, the leaders of their ancestral tribes. They were the heads of the clans of Israel. Verse 17, Moses and Aaron took these men whose names had been given, and they called the whole community together on the first day of the 2nd month. The people indicated their ancestry by their clans and families, and the men 20 years old or more were listed by name, one by one, as the Lord commanded them. And so he counted them in the desert of Sinai. So it talks about the fact that this group indicated their ancestry by their clans and families. That was very, very important to the Israelite people, to make sure that there was no mixing of different cultures into the bloodline of the Israelites. Matter of fact, if you look, I believe it's in the book of Nehemiah, it talks about people that said that they were Levites. They came, they wanted to join the priesthood as they were going back to rebuild Israel. And they said, "Where's your paperwork?" And they couldn't present it. And they said, "No, we're not going to allow that." They had to have the proof that they were part of this blessed generation, this blessed family, this body of Israelites, and that it wasn't tainted. Verse 20, it says, "From the descendants of Reuben, the firstborn son of Israel, all the men 20 years old or more who were able to serve in the army were listed by name, one by one, according to the records of their clans and families. The number from the tribe of Reuben was 46,500. From the descendants of Simeon, all the men 20 years old or more who were able to serve in the army were counted and listed by name, one by one, according to the records of their clans and families. The number from the tribe of Simeon was 59,300. From the descendants of Gad, all the men 20 years old or more who were able to serve in the army were listed by name, according to the records of their clans and families. The number from the tribe of Gad was 45,650. By the way, that's the only one that doesn't end in an exact 100 number. Family of Gad. Verse 26. From the descendants of Judah, all the men 20 years old or more who were able to serve in the army were listed by name, according to the records of their clans and families. The number from the tribe of Judah was 74,600, the largest clan, by the way. From the descendants of Issachar, all the men 20 years old or more who were able to serve in the army were listed by name, according to the records of their clans and families. The number from the tribe of Issachar was 54,400. From the descendants of Zebulun, all the men 20 years old or more who were able to serve in the army were listed by name, according to the records of their clans and families. The number from the tribe of Zebulun was 57,400. Hang on, let me take a breath a minute. All right, verse 32. From the sons of Joseph, from the descendants of Ephraim, all the men 20 years old or more who were able to serve in the army were listed by name, according to the records of their clans and families. The number from the tribe of Ephraim was 40,500. From the descendants of Manasseh, all the men 20 years old or more who were able to serve in the army were listed by name, according to the records of their clans and their families. The number from the tribe of Manasseh was 32,200. From the descendants of Benjamin, all the men 20 years old or more who were able to serve in the army were listed by name, according to the records of their clans and families. The number from the tribe of Benjamin was 35,400. From the descendants of Dan, all the men 20 years old or more who were able to serve in the army were listed by name, according to the records of their clans and families. The number from the tribe of Dan was 62,700. From the descendants of Asher, all the men 20 years old or more who were able to serve in the army were listed by name, according to the records of their clans and families. The number from the tribe of Asher was 41,500. From the descendants of Naphtali, all the men 20 years old or more who were able to serve in the army were listed by name, according to the records of their clans and families. The number of the tribe of Naphtali was 53,400. Now, for each one of those, if you notice, they were all identical except for the name and the number at the end. Nice even pattern. There wasn't any more glory given to one family over another. They were all the same. They were all treated exactly the same. Numbers different, names different. Verse 44, excuse me. These were the men counted by Moses and Aaron and the 12 leaders of Israel, each one representing his family. All the Israelites 20 years old or more who were able to serve in Israel's army were counted according to their families. The total number was 603,550. Now, for those mathematicians, if you go back through and you add up all of those numbers of all the different families of the 20-year-old or older people who can go and fight, the numbers match. They actually match. So that's a good thing, right? Verse 47, it says, the families of the tribe of Levi, however, was not counted along with the others. The Lord had said to Moses, you must not count the tribe of Levi or include them in the census of the other Israelites. Instead, appoint the Levites to be in charge of the tabernacle of the testimony, over all of its furnishings and everything belonging to it. They are to carry the tabernacle and all its furnishings. They are to take care of it and encamp around it. Whenever the tabernacle is to move, the Levites are to take it down, and whenever the tabernacle is to be set up, the Levites shall do it. Anyone else who goes near it shall be put to death. The Israelites are to set up their tents by division, each man in his own camp under his own standard. The Levites, however, are to set up their tents around the tabernacle of the testimony, so that wrath will not fall on the Israelite community. The Levites are to be responsible for the care of the tabernacle of the testimony. The Israelites did all this just as the Lord had commanded. So if you recall from the video and from the book of Exodus, God gave very specific instructions on all of the articles that were going to be included in that tabernacle and the tent of meeting. And all of the articles were made to exacting standards. Those that had gold, some had bronze, some had blue cloth, and some had gold colored cloth, and there was acacia wood and all kinds of different ingredients that went in to make this whole thing possible. So as we saw in the video, the tent of meeting in the tabernacle is going to reside in the center, and here in just a minute we're going to talk about how the different groups of the families are going to be spread around that tabernacle. And it's very, very important that, as we just read, that the Levites are the only ones that are going to be able to have anything to do with it. They're going to be the only ones that are going to be able to touch it. They're going to be the only ones that can move it. Otherwise, death. All right, so we're going to talk a little bit about the arrangement of the camps. Oh, by the way, in verse, let's see here, what was it? In verse 52, it says, the Israelites are to set up their tents by division, each man in his own camp, under his own standard. You guys familiar with what a standard is? It's some kind of insignia on a flag. What do you think Judah's insignia may have been? Lion. That's pretty easy, wasn't it? Lion of Judah. And if you go back through, and I'm not going to go into all of that detail, but if you go back through and look through the book of Genesis, and it's talking about the sons of Israel, it has descriptive words that are used, and some think that those descriptive words are what the standards were for each of those different family units. It's kind of neat. Line of Judah was one of the ones that I remember, and Reuben was flowing water, like a river. So they thought that he might have some flowing lines on his standard. Anyway, don't know if that's true or not, but I thought it was kind of interesting. Chapter 2, verse 1. The Lord said to Moses and Aaron, the Israelites are to camp around the tent of meeting some distance from it, each man under his standard with the banners of his family. Verse 3, on the east, toward the sunrise, the divisions of the camp of Judah are to encamp under their standard. The leader of the people of Judah is Nahshon, son of Amminadab. His division numbers 74,600. The tribe of Issachar will camp next to him. The leader of the people of Issachar is Nathaniel, son of Zuar. His divisions number 54,400. The tribe of Zebulun will be next. The leader of the people of Zebulun is Eliab, son of Helon. His divisions number 57,400. All the men assigned to the camp of Judah, according to their divisions, number 186,400. They will set out first. So as they're marching along through this wilderness, Judah, along with Issachar and with Zebulun, those three family groups will go in front of the tabernacle, go in front of all of this other. They will be first. When you set up in the camp, they will all be on the east side of the camp, which is basically the front of the camp. Verse 10, on the south side will be the divisions of the camp of Reuben. Under their standard, the leader of the people of Reuben is Eliezer, son of Shadur. His divisions number 46,500. The tribe of Simeon will camp next to them. The leader of the people of Simeon is Shalumiel. That sounds good. I didn't say that with confidence though. Son of Zurishaddai. His division numbers 59,300. The tribe of Gad will be next. The leader of the people of Gad is Eliasaph, son of Duel. His division numbers 45,650. All the men assigned to the camp of Reuben, according to their divisions, number 151,450. they will set out second. So if you take those two numbers together, 186,000 and 151,000, you've got over 300,000 people. When I say people, I'm talking about fighting men. This isn't including their families, it's not including their children. I've got 300,000 fighting men at the very front of this entourage. Verse 17, then the tent of meeting and the camp of the Levites will set out in the middle of the camps. They will set out in the same order as they encamp, each in his own place under his standard. On the west will be the divisions of the camp of Ephraim under their standards, or under their standard. The leader of the people of Ephraim is Elishama, son of Ammihud. His division numbers 40,500. The tribe of Manasseh will be next to them. The leader of the people of Manasseh is Gamaliel, son of Peduzar. His division numbers 32,200. The tribe of Benjamin will be next. The leader of the people of Benjamin is Abidan, son of Gideoni. His division numbers 35,400. All the men assigned to the camp of Ephraim, according to their divisions, number 108,100. They will set out third. So they will be behind the actual tent of meeting. On the north will be the divisions of the camp of Dan under their standard. The leader of the people of Dan is Ahiezer, son of Ammishaddai. His division numbers 62,700. The tribe of Asher will camp next to them. The leader of the people of Asher is Begiel, son of Ochran. His division numbers 41,500. The tribe of Naphtali will be next. The leader of the people of Naphtali is Ahira, son of Enan. His division numbers 53,400. All the men assigned to the camp of Dan number 157,600. They will set out last under their standards. So you've got this large army in front, then you've got the tent of meeting surrounded by the Levites, and then behind that you've got another long trail of not quite 300,000. I think it's 165,000 and change. So these are the Israelites counted according to their families, all those in the camps by their divisions, number 603,550. The Levites, however, were not counted along with the other Israelites as the Lord commanded them. So the Israelites did everything the Lord commanded Moses. That is the way they encamped under their standards, and that is the way they set out, each with his clan and family. Now, in the video, and I've heard this before, and the way that they literally camped out was almost in the form of a cross. But I've actually seen other drawings that depicted that show the tabernacle in the center, and then the armies 3, 3, 3, and 3 to form the 12 tribes. On the inside was the tent of meeting, then you had the Levites, you had Moses and Aaron, and then you had the 12 tribes surrounding it. I don't know which way it was, but there was clearly a distinct way that God wanted these arranged, whether it was forming out straight lines with the different families or whether it was a full square. But there was a specific method to the madness of how we had it set up. Now, whichever way you do it, it doesn't really matter which way you do it, but the entire encampment, they calculate based on, I think they allowed 1 cubit or 1.5 cubits per person. Everyone knows what a cubit is, right? Show of hands, no. 18 inches, depending on which cubit you use, because there's 2 different cubits. But they calculated it was the size of the encampment when you figure in all of the families and everyone else involved, it was about 12 square miles is how big this camp was. It wasn't just a little tiny thing. You know, I mean, this was a massive, I mean, imagine, they calculate it was about 6 million people by the time you figure in the wives, the husbands, or the older folks and the younger folks and then the children. There's about 6 million people that they're trying to squeeze into this 12 by 12 or this 12 square mile area. And the only way they're going to be able to do this is if they are organized. Now, can you imagine, you know, is one of the things that the video talked about, it's later on in the book of Numbers, but you got this cloud that's representing God in the cloud, going ahead of them, leading them to their, when it stops, they stop. When it picks up, they pick up. Can you imagine trying to tear down this camp of 6 million people and then move to a certain area, and then set it all back up again, and remember exactly where you were. If I'm next to Devin, when I set up camp the first time, I'm going to be next to Devin the next time I set up. And I've got to know exactly where he is. Well, he better know where he is because he's going to be next to Clay, and so on and so forth. Every time we stop, we go to the exact same spot. Very orderly. And as we get into the latter chapters of Numbers, God is going to very clearly outline all of the rules and regulations about keeping a nice, clean, and tidy camp. If you look at through the Civil War, most of the people that died they died not because of gunshot wounds, or not because of gunshot, but it was because of the infections that they got in their wounds, because of the uncleanliness of the camps. And one of the things that God did was, he gave us, not that we want to go to war or anything, but he gave us a perfect way to set up and tear down a camp. He gave us a perfect order in which we should go as far as lining up folks and the cleanliness standards that go along with that. It's all right here. And if you go back and you look at some of the great armies over the course of our time, a lot of them picked these exact same things and used them in their battle formations. Who else could set up an army better than God? No one. General Patton couldn't do as good a job. I assure you of that. All right. Where was I? Yeah, all wrapped up there. All right, chapter 3, verse 1. This is the account of the family of Aaron and Moses at the time the Lord talked with Moses on Mount Sinai. The names of the sons of Aaron were Nadab the firstborn, and Abihu, Eleazar, and Ithamar. Those were the names of Aaron's sons, the anointed priests who were ordained to serve as priests. Nadab and Abihu, however, fell dead before the Lord when they made an offering with unauthorized fire before him in the desert of Sinai. They had no sons, so only Eleazar and Ithamar served as priests during the lifetime of their father Aaron. Now, what I thought was kind of strange is in verse 1 of chapter 3, it says, this is the account of the family of Aaron and Moses. But I didn't read anything about Moses in those preceding verses. It was just talking about Aaron and his sons. So some think that the name of Moses shouldn't be there, but it is, and I believe that it was supposed to be there for a reason, but I thought it was kind of strange that it didn't talk about any of Moses or his lineage, if you will. Verse 5, the Lord said to Moses, bring the tribe of Levi and present them to Aaron the priest to assist him. They are to perform duties for him and for the whole community at the tent of meeting by doing the work of the tabernacle. They are to take care of all the furnishings of the tent of meeting, fulfilling the obligations of the Israelites by doing the work of the tabernacle. Give the Levites to Aaron and his sons. They are the Israelites who are to be given wholly to him. Appoint Aaron and his sons to serve as priests. Anyone else who approaches the sanctuary must be put to death. Verse 11, the Lord also said to Moses, I have taken the Levites from among the Israelites in place of the first male offspring of every Israelite woman. The Levites are mine, for all the firstborn are mine. Verse 13, for all the firstborn are mine. When I struck down all the firstborn in Egypt, I set apart for myself every firstborn in Israel, whether man or animal, they are to be mine. I am the Lord. So, the Levites were set aside. They are now going to serve in the capacity of tearing down and setting up the tabernacle and the tent of meeting. They are also representing the firstborn. They are taking our place, or the place of the Israelites. Instead of being sacrificed or being pulled away from their families, the Levites are going to take that stead. Verse 14, the Lord said to Moses in the desert of Sinai, count the Levites by their families and clans. So, if you look back at, I'm going to flip back just a couple of pages here. Look back at chapter 1. Let's see. Verse 3, chapter 1, verse 3. You and Aaron are to number by their divisions all the men in Israel 20 years old or more who are able to serve in the army. Then you flip over to chapter 2, verse 1. The Lord said to Moses and Aaron, the Israelites are to camp around the tent of meeting some distance from it, each man under his own standard. So all the way through up to this point, it said Moses and Aaron. Chapter 3, verse 1. This is the account of then it says, in verse 14, it says, the Lord said to Moses in the desert of Sinai, count the Levites by their families and clans. It does not say Aaron. It just says Moses here. That's going to be important. We'll pick up on that in just a minute. Count every male a month old or more, verse 16. So Moses counted them as he was commanded by the word of the Lord. These were the names of the sons of Levi, Gershon, Kohath, and Merari. These were the names of the Gershonite clans, Libni and Shimei. The Kohathite clans, Amram, Izhar, Hebron, and Uzziel. The Merarite clans, Mali and Mushai. These were the Levite clans according to their families. Verse 21. To Gershon belonged the clans of the Libnites and Shimeites. These were the Gershonite clans. The numbers of all the males a month old or more who were counted was 7,500. The Gershonite clans were to camp on the west behind the tabernacle. The leader of the families of the Gershonites was Eliasaph, son of Lael. At the tent of meeting, the Gershonites were responsible for the care of the tabernacle and tent, its coverings, the curtains at the entrance to the tent of meeting, the curtains to the courtyard, the curtain to the entrance of the courtyard surrounding the tabernacle and altar, and the ropes and everything related to their use. To Kohath belonged the clans of the Amorites, Izharites, Hebronites, and Uzzielites. These were the Kohathite clans. The number of all the males a month old or more was 8,600. The Kohathites were responsible for the care of the sanctuary. The Kohathite clans were to camp on the south side of the tabernacle. The leaders of the families of the Kohathite clans were Elizaphan, son of Uzziel. They were responsible for the care of the ark, the table, the lampstand, the altars, the articles of the sanctuary used in ministering, the curtain, and everything related to their use. The chief leader of the Levites was Eleazar, son of Aaron, the priest, who was appointed over those who were responsible for the care of the sanctuary. To Merari belonged the clans of the Malites and the Mushites. These were the Merarite clans. The number of all the males a month old or more who were counted was 6,200. The leader of the family of the Merarite clans were Zuriel, son of Abihail. They were to camp on the north side of the tabernacle. The Merarites were appointed to take care of the frames of the tabernacle, its crossbars, posts, bases, all its equipment, and everything related to their use, as well as the posts of the surrounding courtyard, with their bases, tent pegs, and ropes. Moses and Aaron and his sons were to camp to the east of the tabernacle, toward the sunrise, or the front, in front of the tent of meeting. They were responsible for the care of the sanctuary on behalf of the Israelites. Anyone else who approached the sanctuary was put to death. Verse 39, the total number of Levites counted at the Lord's command by Moses and Aaron, according to their clans, including every male a month old or more, was 22,000. All right, mathematicians, who added up the numbers? If you add them up, it does not come up to 22,000. It comes up to 22,300. You think, well, how in the world can that happen? Well, if you look at, some think that if you go back and look at verse 22, chapter 3, it says the number of all the males a month old or more who were counted as was 7,500. And some think that the 2 and the 5 are very similar. The letter, the inscription used in the Hebrew language, it looks like a backwards R. And depending on the length of the tail coming down, a small R, the length of the tail coming down denotes whether it's 200 or 500. And so some think that it may have been supposed to be 200, but they actually made the line a little bit too long. Sloppy writers, I guess. I'm not sure, but anyway, there was 22,300 of them, or 22,000. There was a bunch of them. I just thought that was kind of interesting that they would have left that number not add up. All right. Let's see, where was I? I'm getting too good at this stuff. All right. Verse 40, thank you. The Lord said to Moses, notice he did not say Aaron. Verse 40 says, the Lord said to Moses, count all the firstborn Israelite males who are a month old or more, and make a list of their names. take the Levites for me in place of all the firstborn of the Israelites, and the livestock of the Levites in place of all the firstborn of the livestock of the Israelites. I am the Lord. So Moses, not Moses and Aaron, so Moses counted all the firstborn of the Israelites as the Lord commanded him. The total number of firstborn males a month old or more listed by name was 22,273. The Lord also said to Moses, take the Levites in place of all the firstborn of Israel, and the livestock of the Levites in place of their livestock. The Levites are to be mine. I am the Lord. To redeem the 273 firstborn Israelites who exceed the number of the Levites. Remember, you had 22,273 versus the 22,000 Levites. Verse 47, collect 5 shekels for each one according to the sanctuary shekel, which weighs 20 gerahs. Give the money for the redemption of the give the money for the redemption of the additional Israelites to Aaron and his sons. So some think that the reason why Aaron wasn't included in the census of this money exchange was so that he would be above reproach. Since Aaron was going to be the recipient of that money, God said, you're not going to get to partake in accounting. Moses is going to get to do that all by himself. Verse 49. So Moses collected the redemption money from those who exceeded the number redeemed by the Levites. From the firstborn of the Israelites, he collected silver weighing 1,365 shekels, according to the sanctuary shekel. Moses gave the redemption money to Aaron and his sons, as he was commanded by the word of the Lord. And most people think that it was the money was taken out of a general fund. It wasn't like, okay, you're a firstborn, you get to pay 5 shekels. You were a firstborn, you get to pay 5 shekels. How would you figure out which one had to pay and which one didn't? So the thought was that it was taken from a general fund rather than the drawing of the names out of a hat to figure out who ended up paying the 5 shekels. But nonetheless, all of that money ended up going to Aaron and his sons as that redemption for the firstborn, that difference there. So, riveting stuff, bunch of names, a bunch of places, as far as how to set up and the exact nature of encampment, the tearing down. We start getting into, in chapter 4, we start talking about how they tear it down and how they set it up in the exact order and who's supposed to touch what and how you cover certain things before you can touch them. A lot of rules and regulations. But one of the things that I mentioned in the video, and Rob mentioned it during the announcements, was Balaam. And what I thought was interesting is in neither case did the fact that his donkey talked to him along the way as he was getting ready to go curse the Israelite people, who of course ended up being a blessing. So anyway, there are some really neat things in this book of Numbers. And when you, again, think about practical application, are we burying ourselves into the Word so that we understand exactly what God is trying to do with our lives? Are we getting out of the way and being obedient to God in following His guidance for our life and setting up a nice, orderly structure for everything that we do? Or are we just kind of winging it? I guarantee you that God wasn't winging it here with the Israelites. It was very emphatic and very down to the T where everyone went to as part of their camp. We need to do the same thing, church. And you think, man, this is boring stuff. I mean, he repeated himself over and over and over again as he was talking about where the census and all that kind of stuff. I wish my name were written in here. You think, well, all those names. I guarantee you this is probably the most skipped over section of the Bible. These few pages right here that we just read today. If I had my name in here, I'd want people to read it. Of course, my name's easier to pronounce. But don't take for granted that just because it's hard to read and it's difficult and it's mundane, that there's not something in it for us. Because even as we start talking about the 12 spies that were sent out, one from each of the tribes, and 10 of them come back and they're complaining. Is that for me to say, quit your whining? Quit looking at things with a glass half full? Or is it to encourage me to continue being the Calebs and the Joshuas? So there's a lot of really good stuff in this book, so let's make sure that we don't overlook it. Let's pray. Heavenly Father, I just pray that as we go through this book of Numbers, Lord, it would not seem dry, it would not seem mundane, it would not seem a waste of time, but Lord, that it would be considered as your word. That we would look at it from the standpoint of, I want to be able to take bits and pieces of this and apply in my life so that I can be more like Jesus. Lord, as we see the different passages, as we go through it, we see the different likenesses of Christ represented in the book of Numbers, and we talk about the different passages that are pulled into the New Testament through the apostles. Make it alive to us, Lord, not dead. In Jesus' name, amen.